This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
This episode is brought to you by Polestar. There's only one true way to experience the all-electric luxury SUV Polestar 3, and that's to take a test drive. It can go from 0 to 60 in as little as 4.8 seconds with the dynamic handling of a sports car. But to truly understand how it commands the road, you need to be behind the wheel. Up to 350 miles of range, the 3D surround sound system by Bowers & Wilkins. It's all something you have to experience to believe. So book your test drive for Polestar 3 today at polestar.com.
If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
Welcome to another Finely Edged production for the Premier League Cricket Club. Connecting players and coaches, clubs and leagues, volunteers and supporters alike, you're in the right place for the best of the 33 ECB Premier Leagues and the 20 NCCA counties, bringing you the stories, the stats and the standout performances that make this game great. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to both our Premier League and NCCA shows so you don't miss any episodes. Now, shall we get stuck in? So welcome everybody to the Premier League Cricket Show, and it's match week 9, and as always I am joined by our Cric Stats AI statistician, get that word out, Mr. Hugh Newsome. How you doing, bud?
Good, cool, good. Do you know what's happened this week? I had a proper cricket tea on Saturday. Absolutely. Hollands End Methodist, Sheffield. I was tempted to just leave on a middle stump so I could go back and eat the tea. Classic. So thank you very much for them. Nothing like a cricket tea. I haven't had too many. I don't get too many in the north of Derbyshire. So all good. Yeah,
so and it was worth the hour drive to get there then?
Absolutely. Do you know what? I'd happily play there every week just for the tea.
All I'll say is you missed your Toby getting his 50.
I did, but I got 50 as well, so it's all right.
And also joining us as always from Cric, Mr. Matt Taaffe. How you doing, mate?
Oh, good, mate. I'm still waiting for my sponsorship to come in for my intro, but another week goes by.
If you can't get Hursty to do it, no one else can. So
I'm not sure we can have a sponsor and a sponsor.
Well, he's got him sponsor him at his club, so he might as well.
There we go.
Absolutely. Hey, our guest this week, it's got another Cric link, ironically. So, Mr. Stephen Hurst, who is the managing director of Cric, when he played, and he makes it sound as though it was a few years ago, but I think it's back in the day, as they say. He was a player at Reigate Priory in the Surrey Championship. And joining us this week, now I've got to introduce him properly here, is a guy who's having a decent run, shall we say, in the last few weeks. But he's got a bit of what I'd call the opposite to the Josh Boynes, Mr. Taaffe. So, George Ealham, welcome to the pod. Do you know, Mr. Ealham, that so far you're averaging less than 20 at home in the league?
Yeah.
But you've scored 211 runs away from home without getting out yet. You don't like playing at home, do you, mate?
No, obviously not. It's a good stat, that.
Absolutely. We always try and find something. And with our friend, Mr. Matt Taaffe, his mate at Blackpool, Josh Boyne, last year, averaged single figures away from home and some stupid number at home.
Yeah.
You're the complete opposite.
Yeah.
You've had a great couple of weeks with a couple of tons there, George, haven't you?
Yeah. No, it's been good fun. Obviously, start of the season, nice to go off with a few runs. Doesn't always happen that way, so can't complain, really.
Got to talk straight away. Let's get straight to it about last weekend.
Yeah.
Following the scores around the country as we do on a Saturday, you always see that anything that's got a 3 at the start of it, a 300, it's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And one of the friends of the pod, Teague Wiley, playing against you for Isha.
Yeah.
Going nicely along, scoring 116 there against you guys. 303 all out, Isha. How are you feeling going into bat there? To start with you guys, that was a big to go after, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, we were quite happy with it in the end because we were looking at 350, 380 the way Teague and David Brent were playing. Obviously Teague is a very good player, and so is Brenty. So we had them, I think, 40 for three. And then all of a sudden they put on 200 between them, I think. So yeah, it was looking like a bigger score. And then Michael Monday, our kind of old head in the team, he's obviously played for Somerset. Always takes the key wickets, managed to get Teague out, which was very handy. And then yeah, walked in at 300, and we've got Ollie Sykes over the batting, who's obviously a pro at Surrey. So he got a run of ball 80, I think, which definitely helped. Otherwise, we would have been struggling a little bit. So, yeah, it was good. Obviously, we won the toss and bowled first because it was looked like a proper green seamer. And that format kind of dictates that bowling first in this league stuff at the minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I guess it was just it's a hard ground to defend. So we just tried to take it over by over and had a few good overs in there as a team. And a couple of people came off as well, which was nice. And then, our big tool Quick came in at the end and got a quick 520 to help me as well, which was very needed. But yeah, got over the line in the end in the last over, which was good.
There's a great video of Michael Monday taking Teague Wiley's wicket and then sort of but it's like an absolute resignation, sort of like an evangelical preacher just praying to the Lord, waving his arms. It was absolutely brilliant. Is that his usual celebration, or is that just a one-off?
No, it's not. Actually, that's funny enough. When we played them last year, Michael took a wicket. They needed two to win in the Rebel stuff, and he took the last wicket as well. It was a similar celebration, but since that game, I've not seen it. So it's something about playing away at Isha that he obviously brings out those kind of celebrations.
Yeah, you're right. It's not the easiest ground to defend at all. It's not the biggest ground in the world, is it? With our friend Teague, we've watched it on the stream a number of times, and look what's going on then. The ball goes very quick to the boundary. So
it does, yes.
But
yeah.
What I noticed was that literally the strike rates in your innings were light years ahead of what Isha had got to themselves, wasn't it? You've got three guys with 197, 91, and another one with 121 strike rate.
Yeah.
That's going to get you home down at Isha, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think it's always very tricky there the first hour. Like obviously tails when they're 40 for three and then end up getting a 200-run partnership. So it's always, if you put it in the right areas in that first hour, it's always quite hard to get away and like say go at a run a ball and strike highly. But they obviously took their time a little bit and then kicked into gear. And I think they still had, I don't know exactly, I think there was still about 20 overs left when T got out. So they were starting to motor at that point. I think they were going at 5, 6 and over quite easily. So had they batted for another 10, 15, 20 overs, we would definitely have been looking at almost 400 or something like that. Something stupid.
Wow. Well, it was looking for a long way during the afternoon as I was following the scores. It did look as though it was going to be one of the biggest chases of the weekend. But that turned out to actually go a bit further down the road where our friends Hornchurch, we've done a lot of work with over the last couple of years, their European antics. They had 355 chased down. They declared.
Did they?
And they got chased down by fives and Heronians.
Really?
Hugh and I have a lovely phrase. You walk off the park with 350 plus, you're feeling pretty smug.
Yeah.
You get it chased down on a Saturday afternoon, your Sunday's not a very good day then, is it?
No, especially when you declare as well and then get it chased down.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, let's have a quick flick around the rest of the Surrey League, Hugh, because right now George's side at Reigate Priory, they're top of the table. That win on Saturday took them there for definite. It's quite congested at the top of the table. It's early doors, but what else have you seen around the league there at the weekend, Hugh?
Well, Isha down at the bottom as well is a bit of a surprise for us. You'd expect them to kick on, but it's such a strong league. You don't know. I mean, it's things change every year. People move in and out. So, yeah, interesting to see how they go the rest of the year. But yeah, Ashted, Sutton, another 300, plays 300. Ashted batting first, 325 for 7 and 63 overs, and Sutton hung on for the draw. Now, this is where I don't know if anyone's seen Reddit. There's a section on Reddit called "Explain It Like I'm 5." Now, George, can you explain this like I'm 5? How the point system is working here, because we've got Sutton won the toss and elected to field.
Yeah,
ended up with 313 for 9 in their innings versus Asted 325 for 7 who were put in.
Yeah,
they've both got similar batting and bowling points, and Sutton have ended up with 6 match points and instead of 2 for Asted. So
Yeah.
Surely, if you win the toss, I don't know. They haven't batted for
So
as many overs. I don't know.
no. So when you win the toss and you elect to bowl first, if you win the game, you can only get 20 points. And then if you get inserted or you lose the toss and you end up bowling, you can get 24 points. In a case where it's drawn, it goes down to run rate. So because Ashton batted for 63 overs,
Right.
Sutton just had to have a better run rate than Ashton during their 57 overs for them to get a winning draw, if that makes sense. So all the batting and bowling points are the same as most other leagues, but the winning draw and losing draw and toss, it's all a bit confusing. They should try and simplify it massively. But yeah, because we got given 24 points initially and then they took 4 off because we won the toss and bowled first. So actually we weren't too, like Sutton, I think we're only 6 or 7 points behind us and they got a draw and we got a win. So
Yeah.
it shows in this league, though, you got it like not losing games is quite key. If you can come away with a losing or a winning draw plus your batting and bowling points, it's usually a decent-ish weekend out. So yeah, that's hopefully explains it.
Thank you. Next week I'll be quizzing you on the Cheshire League, so I hope you swat up. Yeah.
Can I just say, I've got to interject, haven't I? Last week I was told by my co-pilot that I go on about point systems too much. He's done it within the first 10 minutes this week.
Well,
and even now, Hugh, I'm still confused as to what's going on.
No, I don't know. Anyway, Banstead Sunbury, Banstead 268 all out, batting first in 65 overs, and then they bowled Sunbury out for 203. Patrick Rose 103. Arslan Abbas 3 for 24. Hugh Wibgen again has got some runs, 58 from 65 balls, and Stuart van der Meer 4 for 77. I did mention the Ashtead runs as well. There's a couple of big names at the top of the Ashtead and Sutton innings. We've got Mark Stoneman there, 139. Pretty useful having him batting for you at any stage. 139 off 168 balls. Ben Sidwell got 458 for Ashtead. And Sutton, Jaden Brudrick, again, 126 off 134 with George Compton, 4 for 31. So there's some names about in the Surrey Champ scoring some big runs. East Molesey, Spencer, East Molesey 263 for 5, batting first in 60. And then Spencer bowled out for 102 in 37 overs. Marcus Campiano, 107. Andrew Westphal, 5 for 46 for them, and not a huge amount from Spencer. There's the Esher Reigate game. So T got 116 off 145 balls, and George yourself, which you very graciously didn't mention too much, 105 not out off 108 balls. Very, very tidy. Michael Monday with his heavenly 3 for 66, and George with a cheeky 2 for 36 at the end, mopping up the tail, I notice. Well done there.
Good,
and then Wimbledon 262 for 10, batting first in 63 overs, and they bowled Dulwich out for 138. Ryan Patel 78 and 3 for 29. Stephen Reeves 44 not out, and Harrison Perry 40 for Dulwich, and Dale Shaw for 3 for 23.
I think you already said Esher being bottom of the league is towards the bottom of the league is a bit of a surprise there, Hugh. But Dulwich being at the bottom of the league, George, that must be an even bigger surprise considering the big name signing that they brought in with KS Barat, who, correct me if I'm wrong, you had the pleasure of running out a few weeks ago.
I did, yes. It was quite funny actually because we played in the national knockout the week before on the Sunday, and I had probably 3 run-out attempts that would have all been out had I hit the stumps, and I missed every single one. So I was getting a bit of stick from the lads, and then it was nice to get that one on the following Saturday. And obviously, he looked very comfortable when he came in for the 5 or 10 balls he was in for. So it looked like it might be quite a long day because he was off the back of, I think, 140 or something the week before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good day. That I actually didn't get a bat. I was batting number 3, and our openers knocked off 240, I think, in 30 odd overs. So it was a good day because we got whacked on our first game against Sutton. We just got played out of the park. So it was nice to come back the following week with a comprehensive win.
Yeah, you chased down 245 there in 30 overs, as you say. But I think for me, what's fascinating about the league at the moment is there's been 1 or 2 sort of lopsided results.
Yeah.
I don't believe Dulwich and Esher will be at the bottom at the end of the season.
No.
Because I do believe that it's the old phrase, isn't it? I do think anyone can beat anyone in this league at the moment, can't
Yeah,
they?
I was just about to say that. I mean, it's been like that for the last couple of years a little bit, to be fair, but probably more so this year than any other year we've been in it, is that it does feel like everyone can beat everyone. And 3-4 games time, you could be top of the table if they went on a decent run. So it's all very tight. So yeah, we kind of asked who do you think could go down, and none of us have really got an answer at the minute because all the teams we play against seem to be really strong. So it'll be interesting. I feel like there'll be quite a big team go down at some point, but yeah, a long way to go yet.
Shows you the strength of the league when you got Kes Barrett. He's got 134 in his first innings, but then he's really not got a run since. And obviously he's going to come good, and he'll win games and out of nowhere, you would think. But it shows you that you've got an international standard wicketkeeper bat. Yeah, it's not easy for him, and it's not because he's playing on absolute dreadful wickets or anything like that. This is the Surrey Championship, and these are good tracks, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, no, the standard of bowling is very high. Actually, there's a lot of good seamers. You mentioned Westy got 5 for the other day. He got me out last week as well. So there's definitely plenty around, and the spinners in particular too. So it's not too easy at times.
Talk about these well-known players in particular, Hugh, doing well. I've got to give credit to Mark Stoneman, who got that ton on the Saturday, who the following day in the national knockout then got another ton for Ashted against Banstead, to 2 back-to-back tons within 48 hours. That was enough to take Ashted into the next round, into the national rounds of the knockouts. So the big boys and the cream always does rise to the crop, and Mark's still plugging away and getting those runs there, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's we've played against him a couple of times. He's always got a few runs against us. So players like that always show their class, really. Especially obviously going back to back Saturday, Sunday is pretty impressive too. So yeah, he's a quality player.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, George, about one of the players who's a Surrey opener playing in the game that you were playing at the weekend.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that we find really, it's top quality again with Surrey. I joke that they've got the biggest squad in the world, yes, full stop. But actually, lads do then come out to the Surrey Championship into the surrounding leagues, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think especially a lot of the twos boys love playing their club cricket. I know Sykes' been playing in the first team for the Blast as well recently, so it was good to have him come down too. I mean, even Justin Broad, who did a lot of Surrey 2 stuff and is now playing at Northants, actually played a T20 game in Northants at 6 o'clock on the Friday night, and then turned up against us on Saturday, which I've known Broadie for a while. It wasn't very good seeing him because I know what good player he is. It was obviously lovely to see him, but yeah, he's there's a lot of them that like playing and coming back, and obviously putting in the effort to play their club cricket, even if it's a very long format too, because I think 120 overs on a Saturday for most is quite long.
Yeah, and good on them. Good on Northants for letting him do it, especially if he's bowling. They're not wrapping him up in cotton wool.
No, he was allowed to bowl 8 overs, I think. So he did 2 4-over spells, and obviously he opened the batting and opened the bowling like he usually does. So he's always, luckily we managed to get him out early. Otherwise, it could have been a very long day because he's quality.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for this day.
We love talking about the players around these other leagues as well. So let's go and have a quick jump around another league here and cover one of the leagues that we're going to cover this week. So this week we are including the Cheshire League. So let's go all the way up to the northwest and into the Cheshire League here and have a look what was cracking off there at the weekend. It's fair to say Didsbury top, but they didn't have the weekend that they would have wanted to because they drew against Neston on the Saturday, then they got knocked out in the national knockout on the Sunday, whereas the people who beat them, Nantwich, not only beat them in the national knockout, but won on the Saturday as well. But what else have you seen in Cheshire over the weekend, mate?
Yeah, it's fair bit going on. There's quite a few wickets lurking around. Oldley Edge, I'll start at the top there. Oldley Edge, Nantwich. Nantwich batting first, 131 all out in 40 overs. Jason Fulks, 30 from 41 is the top scorer for them. And Oldley Edge bowled out for 111 in 40 overs. So I think there must have been a bit of weather about. I mean, we caught a little bit, but there's a few games that look a bit shortened, and obviously it's affected pitches sweating under covers and things, which might lead to the few of the lower scores here. But yeah, Arav Shetty top scored for Oldley Edge. He just keeps popping up on a lot of team sheets all over the country this summer. So he's top scorer for them with 35. Bowden Brooklands bowled out, batting first 75 in just 26 overs. Not a huge amount from them. And then Bowden got it done, 18 overs, 3 down. Ross Zellam, 28 of 44, not out. And then Sid Mahadevan, 6 for 17, led the bowlers in just 6 overs. Great effort from him. Chester Broughton Hall, Oxton 169 for 9, batting first in 55 overs. A bit of a grind there. Ian Souness, 39 from 55 balls. Johnny Crick, 31 from 83. But then Chester Broughton Hall got it done pretty comfortably in 33 overs. Alex Money, 70, not out. Warren Goodwin, 44 of 43. And George McCormick, 4 for 41 in 17 overs. There's the Neston Didsbury game. That's quite an interesting game, though. It could have gone either way. Yeah. Didsbury batting first, 244 for 8 of 45 overs. Neston got to 224 for 9 in 47. So hung on for a draw, but potentially could have won it as well. So really, really good game there. Matthew Moritz, 103 of 118 for Neston. Tim Hughes, 83 from 97. Abe Titness, 4 for 37 for them. Luke Jones for Neston, 5 for 38. And then a couple more. Timperley Hyde. Timperley batting second, tried to chase 246 for 9 from Hyde, and they were bowled out for 124 in just under 30 overs. Luke Young, 77 off 127 balls, and Bow with 7 for 24 for Hyde. Great effort there. And then the final game, Lindo batting first, 293 for 9. They sort of bucked the trend and bowled out Widnes, who were struggling this year, for just 100. In 29 overs. Jameson Hedges, 58 off 95, and 2 other 50s there. Jameson Hedges also with 4 for 34. Rohan Lutherer, 38 was the top score for Widnes. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happened with Widnes. They were sort of solid mid-table last year. They doesn't seem to be happening. They didn't seem to have done a huge amount of difference team-wise. So something's not quite fired for them. Yeah, and the bottom of the league at the moment is already just starting to fall away that little bit, which is obviously you don't want to be doing that too early. I think the one game I was going to point out there, that quite short game between Bowden and Brooklands, there was only 44 overs bowled between the two of them. And I love a game that finishes fast, but would you believe that 44 overs doesn't even get into the top 10 shortest games of the weekend? There were games around the country shorter than that, left, right and centre. And the shortest of the lot was Walsden versus Darwin on the Sunday, which only lasted 38 overs. You've had a poor day when you turn up and you're done and dusted for 38 overs between two sides, aren't you? Yeah, but Lancs League's always like that, though, isn't it? It just if ever there's going to be a short game, it'll be in Lancashire. So yeah. And I think what was interesting with the Cheshire League this week, Hugh, and you pointed out right at the beginning, the scores were low by Cheshire League standards. We would put Cheshire up there, I'd say, with the likes of Surrey, East Anglia, where we're going to see runs week in, week out. So clearly the weather had a massive effect there. And you guys didn't get affected by the weather at the weekend, George? No, we didn't actually. It was sunny the whole day, pretty much. We obviously got affected the week before. It was like end of the world rain when we were at home. But no, we kind of had not really many clouds either. It was pretty hot. Fielding 60 odd overs was quite tough in the end. It was quite warm. But yeah, luckily rain stayed away, and hopefully it continues to stay away for the next 12 weeks. I was going to say, if we get 12 more weeks out of it, we'll be quite happy. Yeah, definitely. Talking of weather and which way it's going, I've got to turn to our friend now at Cric, Mr. Matt Taaffe. Some days you wish the weather did come a bit faster than others, wouldn't you, Mr. Taaffe? Well, we got the win. That's all that counts. Team player and all that. Team game, yeah. Absolutely. Is it fair to say in the Northwest at the weekend, Spinners had a rather good weekend? Oh, flaming hell. They did at Forward and Broughton. Yeah, it was going square. But yeah, like you say, got the win. So that was the main thing. But if anyone wants to send me some runs, I'd happily take them.
Absolutely. Hey, let's talk about runs then, shall we? Crack on with your biggest and highest run scoring batters from the Cric stable this weekend, and then I've got an interesting stat for around the country.
Yeah, so leading the way is 191 for I feel for Aminda Wajisaria, and then Avishka Tharindo. His name just keeps popping up week after week for Bracebridge Heath. He's gone 151 not out off 90 balls, and he's just dominated now for 2 seasons, and I can't see him slowing down. He's one of the best in the country, I think. Shalin Demel for Wisbech Town, 149 not out of 88. He's sort of went under the radar in terms of big player signings, but this bloke's special, to be honest. He hits it an awful, awful long way. And like you say, his stats are backing him up. At the start of the year, Manisanka Murasingh for Philadelphia up in the northeast, 132, another just proven performer week on week. And then moving down the line, Peter Trigo, 109 for Burbage and Eastern Royal, Patrick Rowe, 100 for Banstead. But yeah, there's a lot of runs from our Cric lot this weekend, and some big runs, so it's great to see.
Without a doubt. Now, there's the stat for the weekend, Hugh. You ready for this?
Go.
You're going to talk about the biggest run scorers around the country in the Premier Leagues. Did you know that 3 of the top 10 scores in the entire seasons happened in this weekend just gone?
There we go. Very exciting.
That's what the stats do, isn't it? Who we got at the top, mate?
Ryan Gibson, familiar name. Martin, 200 not out. Useful. Off just 130 balls for them against Bishop Auckland in the North Yorkshire South Durham League. Raminda Wijasera for Ifields there. That's 191 off 137, as Matt's referred to. Hell of an effort from him. Again, it's these quick ones, isn't it? When they go big and they go quickly, these lads. William Wright for Lindham, 186 off 133 against Spalding. Another great performance there. Stephen Muller for Spondon. Stefan Muller, Spondon, 156 off 150 balls against Cutthorpe. And then Tom Murray for Hutton against Billericay, 153 off 102 balls there in the Essex League. And then we've got 152 not out. Rehan Edavalath, 152 off 156. Avishka Thorendu's there, 151 off 90. And Matty McKernan, 150 off 103. All 3 of those not out.
And I haven't checked yet, and I should do it. I reckon it could be the biggest 150 weekend of the season so far. There does seem quite a lot there. There's 65 tons around the country across all the Premier League. And I've got to give a shout out to one in particular that I was really impressed with. Rodri Evans and Pete Clark, playing for Shrewsbury, opened the batting. 200 partnership against Smethwick, the Birmingham League champions from last year. Again, I'm pretty sure that result didn't go in their favour. It was a draw, the way it is at the moment. But it's the 8th highest partnership in the Birmingham District League opening partnership ever. So great little stat that we picked up from the boys there. As I said, we've already mentioned Mark Stoneman with his ton there. James Hildreth, nice to see him come in to play for Stony Stratford in the Northamptonshire League, and he got his 120 a bit further down the list there. Yeah, and the other one that was a real quickie that I find fascinating, and we don't talk about this fella very often, but we should do. Basil Akram at Potterne, regular scorer of big runs, 114 off 64 against Bridgewater, who we know has got one of the best attacks in the West of England Premier League. I think we might have to get Potterne on at some point, Hugh, because he's definitely a superstar for them, isn't he?
Absolutely. There's a few other ones that just collectively through the season, we've got Adam Jones and Sam Arthurton 400s already. Adam Jones is I think he's leading the runs as well. But Jaden Brudrick for Sutton in his 6 innings, he's already had 300s there, and then Avishka Thurendu's had 300s in his 7 innings. But then the one that's caught my eye is Rob Jones at Nantwich, moved from Toft. He's had 3 innings, he's already got 200s. So there's a few people putting some runs together. Ben Slater's in there as well, 200s in his 4 innings. So yeah, interesting to see. But yeah, 400s is the most so far this season, but I suspect we might double that at least.
Well, the best average I can see in the country in the top 25 plays in your league, George. It's Jaden Brudrick.
Yeah.
Right now it's on 115 average after his first 6 matches. Tell us more about Jaden.
Well, I've not actually come across him much. He's just joined the league this year. He's obviously been at Sutton, so we played them first game of the year, and he actually didn't get to do much because he was about 5 not out because we didn't get enough runs.
Right.
And Josh Blake and one of their openers, I think Ryan Hackney or someone like that, got a few runs. So we only saw him for 4 or 5 balls, I think, and he got 4 or 5 not out. So he looked quite tidy, but I can't actually give you too much info on him because I've never really come across him. But I did speak to Josh Blake about him the other day. He said he's been really good so far, and that bit of experience that they needed in the middle as well. So obviously getting 300s in the first 6 games is pretty good.
Just take you back, George, to your cricket journey. We'll have a before we move on. Obviously the Ealham name's relatively famous around cricket. What was your sort of pathway through? Was cricket just going to happen, or have you sort of found it on your own?
No, I think obviously naturally probably just grew up around it the whole time, and I've got a younger brother that's at Surrey at the minute, so we just both played in the garden all the time, and we probably got to that age when Dad finished playing that we had to travel with him to Two's games for the whole day, for 4 days of just watching cricket because we were too young to stay at home. So we definitely grew up playing that the whole time. So I don't think I started till Kent under 12s, I think, because Dad was at Kent at the time. And then I was there till 15, 16 when I moved to Surrey because I've been at school in Surrey, that's where we live. And then probably 18, 19, I went back to Kent for a season of twos. And then more recently, I had a season with Sussex last year. And then actually got roped back into a couple of twos games for Surrey this last week. So I've been all over the place, really. I think 3 counties, but trying to give it a crack still and see where it goes.
Obviously we've got the Flintoff family again stuck in, Archie Vaughan, there's all sorts of sons of cricketers coming through. Did you find there was extra pressure on you? Did you have a target on your back, when you were playing, or was it pretty relaxed?
Not necessarily. I think obviously Dad had quite a good career, but not the same as like Flintoff, where everybody's expecting me and my brother to be like him. So I think Dad was always very good. He never put any pressure on me or my brother to play cricket. He always said, just do it if you enjoy it, and I'll help if you need. Naturally, probably didn't listen to him as much as I should have when I was much younger, as most parents probably will say. But no, he was great, and I think maybe probably the other way actually. Sometimes you maybe had to work a little bit harder to get into teams at times, and probably the opposite at other times. So it was it's been very up and down at times. But like I say, Dad was great with just saying, play if you want to play, and don't feel like you have to do it. You just do it if you enjoy it.
Yeah. I can imagine for the Flintoffs kid, it's hard to people's public perception might be that you've just had this extra leg up or something like that. Well, actually, the reality is, like you say, is potentially the opposite. People may be overcompensating, say, I can't, just because he's there, I can't pick him. You're not necessarily judged the same as everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think it's probably most people that grow up with dads or parents that have played in sport. I think everybody has a different experience, but mine was all pretty good. And I probably looked at it in a way that I had somebody to talk to and advice to, or coach, if you like, that I could just go down the nets and have someone throw some balls at me that knew what they were talking about. So I tried to make the most of that over the last 3-4 years, really.
Yeah, very good.
Absolutely. Me and Hugh would totally agree that the thought of being a child and being dragged around and having to watch cricket for 4 days at a time, Hugh, it must have been tough for him.
Exactly. It was great fun.
I got dragged to motor racing. I went to motor racing events. So there was quite a bit of being wet and cold at motor racing events. So I suspect, George, you were wet and cold at cricket events, but at least you had teas.
Yeah, that's true. We always used to tuck into the teas. We actually used to run the drinks on. So we used to be like these mini 12th man, if you like 10 and 12-year-olds just running these big bottles of drinks onto all the twos boys at the time at Kent. So actually Sam Billings was coming up through there, and he always used to get us some ice creams from the shop as well. So they were always really good with us, to be fair.
He's a good lad, is Sam. Sam, I know, is signed up for Runs for Research this year as well to pay our friend Jake and what they're doing over there. He's he just seems to be the sort of guy that puts in and off the pitch all the time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. He actually turned up to an old school game that we were playing against. I don't know if you're familiar with the Cricket Cup, but it was one of those where I think we got through to the second round and suddenly Sam just rocked up and we were like, oh no. So he got 35 not out, I think, in the end and won them the game. But no, it was good to play against people like that.
Absolutely, definitely. Hey, talking about who you're going to be playing over the next couple of weeks, just looking at your fixtures, I mean, you've got what I'd describe over the next 2 Saturdays, home games against two of the single biggest clubs around. Wimbledon with God knows how many children, and Spencer with even more who've been promoted to the Premier League. How good is it to have that sort of massive amount of kids being brought through these clubs in Surrey?
Yeah, no, it's great. I think I obviously grew up playing at Cranley Cricket Club, where perhaps we didn't have a massive junior section compared to the teams you've mentioned. But I think it's always good because you've always got younger kids coming through wanting to play and pushing the first team and the second team competitively as well. So I think, obviously Spencer and Wimbledon are two of the biggest, if I'm right in saying, like you said. So they've always got quite a strong team and like you say, a couple of good youngsters coming through. So playing those two teams is always quite good. And I've not played Spencer for Reigate yet, but we used to come up against them a lot playing for Cranley. And it was always a very good place to bat. So I know we're at home this time actually, so I'm gonna have to wait to go and bat there.
Absolutely. Hey, let's move north and have a look at some more games around the country as we always do week in, week out. I'm going to go to the Yorkshire South Premier League now, where there's only one statistic I can pick out straight away, Hugh, before you talk about what happened to the weekend. 3 of the top 5 wicket takers this season in Premier League cricket are in the Yorkshire South League. If there's anywhere you don't want to go and bat right now, it's the Yorkshire South League. What was happening there at the weekend, mate?
Well, I was in Yorkshire South and I was having a nice tea. That's what was happening. But, that's more important than anything else that's happening there. But so if you are playing at Sheffield Collegiate first 11 and you fancy playing up the hill at Hollands End Methodist and you want a good tea, off you go. Other cricket teas are available. A fair bit going on. Some reasonable runs. Again, I think the weather around sort of Friday night, settled a few thoughts of many 300s. But there was quite a few 200s in the league. Cleethorpes, Appleby, Frodingham. Mike Mishra with 63 and 7 for 41. I suspect he might be one of those. He's going all right for Cleethorpes in their win there. Adam Grimes, 99 of 126. Sheffield Collegiate, Wickersey Old Village. Sam Meadows got 52 not out in their win there. They put on 216 for 7, batting first. Wickersey got 172 for 8. James Butler, 39, was the top scorer for them. Shire Green, Donny Town. Donny Town back first, bowled out for 177 in 45 overs, and Shire Green got it 9 down. So really good finish there. Hanif with 35 off 72 balls there, and fell for Doncaster 77 off 135 balls. Dobson 4 for 29. Tickhill, Barnsley, Woolly Miners. Tickhill put on 184 for 9, batting first in 50 overs, and they bowled out Barnsley in 42 overs for 173. So another really good finish. Michael Jeps, 51 not out of 93 balls for Tickhill. Sean Whitehead, 53. And Jayesh Gianni, 5 for 59 for Barnsley Woolly Miners. Joshua Court, 4 for 56 for Tickhill. Wakefield Thorns, 200 for 4, chasing 198 from Ealham, who were bowled out in 46 overs. They got the job done reasonably comfortable. You mentioned Billings there, with Joe Billings with 90 off 87 for Wakefield Thorns. Brad Green, 4 for 33 for them. Andre Bradford, playing for Ealham, 47 off 104 balls. And Arith Ravi, 3 for 65 for Ealham, was their leading wicket taker. And then Whiteley Hall, batting first, 237 for 8. Cawthorne bowled out in 49 overs for 231. Tim Smith, 61 for Whiteley Hall. Mohammed Ashraf, 5 for 60. It's just gone off my little page. 560, I think it was. And then Harry Allison, 62 for Cawthorne. And Syed Hassan, 2 for 34.
Yeah, some tight games there, really. There wasn't any big runaway wins. Sheffield Collegiate by 44. The one that caught my eye was that Shire Green winning by 1 wicket against Doncaster Town. Having bowled Doncaster Town out for 177, Shire Green, 9 wickets down. It's the last pair to actually get the runs. and they got 5 runs off the last 2.5 overs of 15 balls basically. And that's your last bat. I'm just thinking, how nervous are you sat on the sidelines watching 15 balls go by for your last pair? That's a nervy ending to say the least, but they got over the line in the end, and they got themselves the win, which Shire Green last year had 1 or 2 nightmare results once or twice, so it's good to see them get that result, even though they are bottom of the table at the moment. But at the top of the table is in Yorkshire South. Wakefield Thorns going well. I'm just going to say keep an eye on Cleethorpes. They just seem to be finding a little bit of form. They won the league last year, and we know that once they got rolling last year and Mayank Mishra got on a roll, he just doesn't seem to stop, does he?
No, when you've got one lad doing so much consistently, I think is the key. Then it's hard to stop from anybody, somebody of that quality. But yeah, Barnsley Woolly Miners, they'll probably be regressing. I think they lost the last 3 wickets for 4 runs, needing 16 to win. So they could have easily won that game as well. So they'll be regretting that one.
Well, unfortunately, I will be talking about a little bit of carnage that was in the national knockout later. But before we do that, so we've talked about the bowlers up in Yorkshire South, Hugh. What we got in the weekend in terms of the numbers there, I think there's a very familiar name at the top of the top bowlers.
Yeah, KC Cariappa. It's a wonderful name. That was at Mildenhall. Yeah, they sort of bring him in particularly for this red ball section, so he can bowl a ton of overs and take tons of wickets. And he hasn't bowled a ton of overs because he's got 8 wickets for 21 and 12 overs against Great Wisham. Got the game won very comfortably for them. So he's top this week. But we got 3 7-fers. Liam Bowe for Hyde against Timperley, 7 for 24. William Fenwick, 19 overs, 7 for 34. For Roffey in the Sussex League, and then Mayank Mishra is there, 7 for 41 for the Cleethorpes against Appleby Frodingham in the Yorkshire Premier South, and then Sid Mahadevan Bowden against Brooklands with 6 for 17. That rounds out the top 5, but we got loads more 6-fers and a ton of 5-fers.
Yeah, I think the one that I sort of spotted straight away was Rhys Davis for Darwin. He was in that game that finished faster than any other game at the weekend, taking 5 for 8 off 9 overs. Everyone's going to be happy with that one. An economy rate of 0.89 and 5 wickets for 8 runs. Are you ready?
And there's Matt's little game, important game there. Blackpool against Forward. You've got Ali Usman getting some serious wickets there. He's got 9 overs, 2 maidens, 6 for 20 to essentially win the game for Blackpool. But what I was going to say, Matt, if in your defence, you're walking out to bat and you've got Simon Kerrigan at the other end. It's not easy, that, is it?
No, the last time I faced him was at Ormskirk on an absolute flat one, so it was a complete polar opposite to coming up against him. Yeah, but he lands it on a spot. He knows what he's doing. He'll get you out 9 times out of 10. So I'm sure his figures were just below Ali's, weren't they?
Yeah, 15 overs, 3 maidens, 5 for 19. So yeah, you were one of the 5, sadly. But yeah, I mean, sorry, test left arm bowling at you. You're doing all right, aren't you? You're playing in the right games.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's have a look at the rest of the Cric stable there. You got KC Cariappa, one of the Cric boys, top of the national numbers with his 8 for the weekend. What else you got there, Matt?
Yeah, like you say, KC tops the pile. You got Mayank, who Hughes just touched on as well for his 7-fer, and then an awful lot of 5-fers and 4-fers. But like I say, your mate Livo Safi Ghaffari at Richmondshire, 5 for 25, and then Delon Perez, 5 for 28 for Burbage. Sandu Madishanka for Ramsey, 5 for 40, and then like I say, it was just plenty of 5-fers, 6-fers, and 4-fers. For not that many.
It was that weekend where we can obviously say round the country, batters and bowlers were equal. There were 65 tons and 64 fifers around the country. It's the most level weekend we've had so far. George, you're a batter and a bowler. Which one do you want, mate?
Batting. I think I'm an all-rounder, but a batting all-rounder. So I don't always bowl, but I always do like to bowl because I always think that don't get any runs with the bat, you can try and get some wickets with the ball. So especially if I don't get any runs, I'm always trying to get a bowl as well to try and get in the game. But if I had to pick one, it would be batting.
So if you got a cheeky 5 for better than not as much, not as satisfying as a ton.
No, I definitely less often getting 5 wickets. I can't remember the last 5 wicket haul I got. But no, I think probably getting a ton is still still more satisfying for me. But yeah, the Fifers aren't too bad either, if you can get them.
Do you think in the Surrey League that is the key? The runs are more key than the bowling, because it is generally quite a high scoring league, isn't it?
Yeah, but I do think bowling wins you leagues and wins you games in this league in particular. Obviously, getting runs is quite important and you need it. But I think usually the better bowling attacks tend to find themselves near the top of the league. So obviously you can skittle out one of their better batters or a couple of batters at the top when it's snipping around all over the show. So I think, yeah, obviously if you've got somebody consistently scoring runs, then that's amazing. But if you've got one of your opening bowlers taking 3, 4, 5 wickets every game, then that makes a massive difference.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
After Zoomies at the dog park, it's time for Drive Up at Target. In goes a big bag of kibble and one squeaky chicken toy for the good boy. Drive Up that's ready when you are, only in the Target app. Just tap Target.
And you are going to come up against one of the biggest run-scoring teams in a couple of weeks' time. We've talked about you playing Wimbledon, Spencer in the next 2 weeks at home.
Yeah.
Then face a trip to Sunbury the week after.
Yeah.
And Mr. Hugh Wiegbegin.
Yeah.
How do we say it? Wiegbegin.
I don't actually know either.
We've got no idea.
One of them.
You face the Aussie who's been blitzing runs left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
He's definitely come over, and his reputation has gone before him, but he's actually been doing it as well.
Yeah. No, I think we had quite a good year last year, but we lost both of our games to them. I think they were the only team we kind of lost to twice, definitely. And they're always a very good side. I think they've missed a couple over the last few weeks, if I'm right in saying, but I think they're still in and around it, which obviously shows how good a side they are. But yeah, I think obviously we'll have to try and come up with a way to keep Hugh quiet, and hopefully he doesn't get many against us and we can skittle a few of them. But I know a few of their lads really well, so they're a good bunch and always a good team to play against, and it's a pretty good place to bat most of the time.
Hence why Hugh's gone there. Now, I've got to ask about Surrey grounds generally, and Surrey clubs generally. Do you know each other really well? Because it's quite a spread out league as well, isn't it? It's far more spread out than people realise.
Yeah.
It's not one of these little leagues where everyone's got a 6-mile journey left, right, and centre. Is there a lot of interaction between the clubs, and therefore players know each other very well over the years?
Yeah, there definitely is quite a lot of interaction. I think obviously, I'm in Cranley at the minute, so I've got an hour and 20 minutes to some grounds, especially travelling into London can be quite long. Obviously, it's not too far distance wise, but timing wise, it is. But yeah, I think obviously I grew up in Surrey, so it's probably a bit easier for me to say I've got quite a few relationships around the grounds because I've grown up playing with quite a few of those boys as well. But generally, everyone's pretty good at having a beer with the oppo after and sitting around and having a drink or having some food or whatever. So particularly Isha, actually, we've hung around and they put on this curry the other day for everyone to tuck into. So we all sat around having a few beers and a curry, which was quite nice. But yeah, obviously some teams dive off if they've had a bad day, but most teams tend to sit around and have a chat. So you do get to know quite a lot of people. It doesn't take away the competitiveness either. It makes it quite hard, and a lot of the time you might be in a battle with somebody that you know quite well, but when you're off the pitch, it's different. So it's a very good balance, actually, to be fair.
Brilliant. And the fact that there's a curry at Isha after the game, Hugh, I think they go quite to the top of the list if we're going to go down to Surrey at some point.
They are one of the better teas, to be fair. If you are going down to watch a game, go and watch that one, because the lunches are good there.
Excellent.
Teague Wiley, if you're listening, we're going to be watching this year, mate. We're just going to keep an eye on you, just in case. You never know. You come back for a season, you just don't know what's going to happen there. Hey, let's go a bit further north to the North Ants League, Hugh, and see what's been cracking off there, where got to start off with the big game of the weekend was drawn in the end. It was Oundle Town versus Peterborough. First Sorry, second versus third in the league. For neither side, a draw was the result they would have potentially wanted, chasing down Find and Dolben. But two great sides there once again.
Yeah, I mean, Peterborough going all right. I mean, they won in the national knockout on the weekend. And you can talk about that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, a really solid weekend for them. They put up 304 batting first. Kaitel Niatsi 110 off just 51 balls. He's moved over from Market Deeping last year. After, I think he had 2 years there. Done terrific start for him. He also had a winter in Australia, Albury Wodonga, which is a place I always like the sound of, not far from Wagga Wagga, so you couldn't get more Australian there. So he's going all right. He's had a good winter, and then he's come out firing. So the Craig brothers for Oundle also shared 6 wickets between them. Connor and Harrison, 3 for 60 for Connor, Harrison 3 for 69. Mark Hodgson got 118 for Oundle off 140 balls, but yeah, it wasn't quite supported in the same way as they were able to from Peterborough. So yeah, a winning draw for Peterborough there. I'll go from the top. Kettering, Finden going well still, 225 all out, batting first in 49 overs. Dan Breeden 62, Elliot West 43. Mark Wolstenholme 3 for 35 for them, and Kettering bowled out for 141. Not a huge amount in the batting there. Kisling beat Temperance, batting first, got 273 for 7. Alex Mitchell 61, Kobe Johnson 56, Harry Penberthy 55 off 57 balls, and Ashley Starmer 5 for 34, and Ben Swingler 5 for 32, shared the wickets between them. Rushton were bowled out for 165 in 41 overs. George Earl for Rushton 359 for them. Old Northamptonians 233 for 8 against Geddington. Batting first, and Geddington got 235 for 3 in just 40 overs to get the job done there. Jack Bates 92, Jack Parker 72. Great effort from them. Augustus Miller 4 for 27. And then at the bottom there's Stony Stratford, Desborough. Stony Stratford with a big total, 332 for 7 off just 47 overs. And then Desborough 267 for 4 in 53. James Hildreth doing okay there, 120 off 84 balls, and Michael Wells 119 off 83 balls. Andy Marston 2 for 72, and Freddie Farrow 72 not out off 93. Riley Marshall 2 for 45. So yeah, they got the draw, but Stony Stratford with the winning draw.
And as you said already, without a shadow, it's looking like it's going to be the top 3 there again. Not maybe quite running away with it, but Fine and Dolben, Peter and Oundle, there's that gap already opening up, and those 3 just seem to dominate that league every year, Hugh.
Well, Peterborough looking really, really strong. I mean, you want to have a chat about their antics on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, the national knockout, I did say on last week's pod, and Hugh reminded me that I'd said it. Last year's champions Brentwood were going up to Peterborough for the national knockout, and I said that's going to be a tough one for them. Peterborough beat Brentwood in a pre-season friendly, and if you look back at that, they were pretty much their first teams out there as a 40-over friendly, which mirrored the national knockout, and so be it. That's exactly how it went down in the end. And to be fair to Brentwood, you've got to look at the game as a whole, and Brentwood actually had Peterborough at 67 for 5 after 13 overs in a bit of trouble. But Brentwood managed to get themselves up to 227 in the national knockout of the weekend. Brentwood then, I was at Ormskirk, but I was watching from afar and saw last year's heroes from the final, Aaron West, Will Buttleman, chuntering along nicely, no problems whatsoever. They got to 98 before they lost their second wicket. But it's fair to say there was a little bit of carnage when they lost 7 wickets for 15 runs in the space of 5 overs, and the game was over then. And the champions had gone from being, I'd say, very, very comfortable to done. And Brentwood's season in the national knockout is over. They've been great champions and really great to work with the boys over the last year, but it's not going to be them this time, Hugh. I then had the pleasure of going to Ormskirk, as I say, Roe Green and our friends Dan Jones at Cric Stats and Guy Emmett, they gave Roe Green a spanking. Roe Green looked 40 to 50 runs short at least. Tilly Malchan got a ton, but Callum Turner literally blasted them out the park. Matt Taaffe mentioned Ormskirk being a road earlier, and it certainly was on Sunday, to say the least. And We then had the pleasure, me and my dad, because it was Father's Day. He was with me at Ormskirk. We took the road round to Northern, saw the last 40 minutes of the Northern Formby game, where Mr. Liam Gray took them home with another century. I think that's his 9th century for Northern now, and was clearly man of the match. And Northern got home easily in the end with a couple of overs to spare, but it was looking tight, hence why we drove round then. And now we see that the national rounds come together. You guys, George, are still going to be represented in the national rounds by Ashton.
Yes, yeah, I think they beat Banstead, didn't they? Yeah, I think you said earlier.
That's right.
Yeah, good side. They got a couple of good young players. Adam Thomas just signed for Surrey, who's a very good player. He's had a couple hundreds already this year as well. So yeah, I'm sure they'll go all right, and hopefully they rep the Surrey League well.
Yeah, were you disappointed being knocked out by Tunbridge Wells in that round one game? I mean, you guys scored 210 off your 40 overs. And personally, I think you got rid of a couple of the danger people quite top heavy, where Drew Beasley.
Yeah.
Disappointed there.
Yeah, I think we've always, I mean, I've only been at Reigate this year and last year, but we've always struggled to get Sunday teams out as well, compared to our Saturday side. So I think we missed a couple of key players, which probably didn't help. But the situation in the game, I think we still could have probably got over the line. It was just one of those that didn't quite go away. I think one of their bowlers, I think was an overseas bowler, who came out and hit a few sixes near the end. That kind of just got them over the edge, and their captain played quite well and saw them home. So it's a lovely ground to play at, actually, Tunbridge Wells. I've not played there before, so it was a great ground to play at. But they were better than us on the day, I think, and probably just pipped us. But yeah, it would have been good to get through that and see where we could have gone, but not to be this year.
Absolutely. So we're down to the national rounds now, Hugh. Last 16, Middleton and Sussex will be playing Ealing. I'll whiz through them very quickly. Penzance will welcome Bridgewater. That could be a big game. Penzance with big signings over the winter. Bridgewater have got a hell of a squad there. Ashted in Surrey. Hopefully the Surrey Championship will be back in the boys there. They've got Bexley coming to play there. I'm going to pump now. Game of the round next round. Wanstead and Snaresbrook at home to Peterborough Town. That is going to be at humdinger, in my opinion. South North, previous winners, have got York at home, who got through with our friend Braden Shaper scoring another ton on Sunday for York. Unfortunately for our friends at Northern and Ormskirk, they've got to face each other off again to see who goes further in the national knockout. Nantwich from Cheshire, they're going to be at home to Ollie Currell's Nolan Dorridge, who won at the weekend, and I'm sure Ollie will be looking to get one or two of those Warwickshire boys back in the side there. And then our local boy, we've actually got a Derbyshire side in the last 16, Hugh. Ockbrook and Borrowash are in the last 16, but they've got to face the might, and there's only one way to put it, of Cavs and Carrington coming from Nottinghamshire. That should be an interesting game, because Ockbrook are very heavy on their bowling, I believe, but we know Cavs are very heavy on their batting as well, aren't they?
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting one. Ockbrook go really well in the Derbyshire League, aren't they? Possibly surprising a few people. They've got some variety in the attack, and they've got lads who can score big runs as well. And Cavs are just a bit of a juggernaut, and Cavs have got serious depth. And you talk about, George, people struggling to get teams out on a Sunday. I just can't see Cavs having a problem getting a team out on a Sunday. So I don't know. I think Cavs could be right up there towards the end. Be interesting to see. It'll be fascinating to see how they go. But yeah, they've got a lot of depth and some serious quality if they're all available, which is partly an issue, mate. If they're not pulled into professional spheres on a Sunday, I suppose that's the worry. But yeah,
if the three
interesting setup.
It'll make life interesting.
Yeah,
definitely.
And Savin Pereira, who's currently playing Sussex twos now. I mean, I think he's played literally for every single second team in history. George, you obviously played some twos cricket. How does that compare against leagues like the Surrey Championship?
It's very different, because I think some days you turn up and you play a full side of pros in twos, or you can turn up and there be a couple of pros and mainly academy lads and a few trialists like myself. So it varies a lot. I think some games are the Surrey Prem probably a bit harder to play in than some of the twos games, but then obviously when you come up against a full lineup of pros, then that's obviously harder. So it varies is the answer, but the Prem is pretty consistently good, and you always come up against a couple of decent bowlers and quite a few good batters. To be fair, there's always quite a lot of depth. So they cross over quite well, but the yeah, I think the main thing with the twos is you probably play on slightly better wickets most of the time, which obviously helps. And sometimes you get the odd clubby wicket in the league, as you probably know. So yeah, that's kind of the difference, I suppose.
How do you prepare mentally for a twos game? Do you feel like, under more pressure? Are you able to be relaxed or that? What's the, because obviously there's a lot of guys in Premier Leagues very keen to play twos cricket, looking for contracts. What's the, but we look from afar and it's people bouncing around twos games, on a Tuesday and this, that, and the other. What's it like going into those games to play fresh?
I've changed my outlook on it a bit, to be honest. Like when I was at Kent, I had a decent opportunity there, where I think I was batting 3 or 4 for 4 or 5 games, and I put way too much pressure on myself at the time. And you get wrapped up in you get some runs, you could maybe get a contract, or I've got to do well to do this. And I think now the situation I'm in, I've started my own business, so it's quite nice to have something alongside cricket. So now my attitude's a bit like what will be will be. I'm still training harder than I have before, but it's just a different attitude, and I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. I'm just trying to enjoy it and score. If I score some runs, great. If I don't, then it's not the end of the world. So yeah, I think obviously try and hit some balls and train and be fit when you can to play, but I'm not getting too bogged down if I don't get any runs or if I don't get picked. I'm just taking it as it comes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Do you think that sort of attitude that you're using, which I think is absolutely spot on for what you're doing, George, do you think that's sort of been driven a little bit by exactly what Hugh and yourself have just said, that you could turn up at a twos game on one week and play 11 pros, the week after you could turn up and it could be 4 pros, 3 trialists, and no matter what. And do you think that twos cricket would be better balanced if it was a bit more squad, shall we call it?
Yeah, I think obviously it's tricky because you can dot around. I mean, I was back in the fold last week only because I was probably the only ones that had a heart screening. So it seems to be the thing at the minute. If you don't have a heart screening, you can't play. So luckily I'd had one a couple of weeks ago, which meant I was in. So you don't really find out about games the day before. So you can't really plan your week too much. So yeah, I think you have to be quite open-minded and almost try and play the ball rather than the bowler, whether that's an academy bowler or a seamer or that's a professional. So yeah, it's tricky. I think there's probably a little bit of a problem with that for the whole outlook on second level cricket because it's so vast. And I think we ended up playing when I was at Sussex trialing there for a year. We had a lot of 3-day games instead of 4-day games because you either got rolled by a team full of pros or we were rolling teams that didn't have many pros. So I don't know if a squad would fix that or not, but I think they've obviously got their own squads in the professional environment anyway. So it's hard to try and find the balance.
My favourite one last year was Jofra Archer rocking up for Sussex Twos on his injury recovery, and he's just like, right, who've we got today? Oh shit!
Yeah, I played against the same thing when I was at Surrey in academy lads. When I was 18, 19, I was playing against Sussex at Hove, and he just strolled in, and we were like, oh no. So he bowled about 20 overs in the end, but I was batting 7 or 8, and he got progressively quicker because he wanted to try and get us out. But you could just hear like his gold chains like jumping around when you're at the non-striker centre, so it was quite intimidating. But no, it was good to try and challenge yourself against those bowlers. I think my dad always went on about the amount of people he used to face, and like Patrick Patterson and those guys in the two. So it was very normal back then to have the big quicks, but less so these days. So no, it's good to play against them.
Yeah, and
anybody that mentions Patrick Patterson is, it's a proper story when Patrick Patterson's coming out there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think what's interesting there, it does differ so much from counties like Surrey, like Derbyshire, where I can remember me and Hugh talking this time last year. Derbyshire Twos were putting out T20 sides in the T20 competition that effectively could have been 7, 8 or 9 of their first team as well, because their squad depth is nowhere near as much, and they wanted the guys to get that practice. Whereas Surrey, squad's so much deeper, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a massive squad. I think obviously because the amount of England players Surrey have got, they kind of need a little bit more depth so that they can cover those areas, and they're always very good at getting good overseas as well, as you can have seen over the last years. So obviously there's a money side of thing that comes into it with other smaller counties and being a test ground as well. So they've obviously it's mad how big the squads are compared to how small some squads are. So yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Hey, it's been great catching up about the Surrey Championship and everything around Surrey. It's one of the leagues I describe as we know it quite well, but it's in depth, do we, Hugh? And it's fascinating to hear some of the stories from around there because it is without a shadow in that top echelons around the country. Chris Coleman at the Surrey Foundation has been really good with me over the winter and talked us through all the changes that you guys have made with the Surrey Championship, being part of the new sort of pyramid that they've got coming out of the foundation. And they've done a great job in pulling all of those leagues together in Surrey, haven't they?
Yeah, I think luckily it's not affected our league as much, otherwise I wouldn't have a Scooby what was going on really. So I think the Prem and Div 1 have been left the same.
Yeah.
And then they've regionalised everything below that. So there's a couple of teams. It will probably take 2 or 3 years for it to even out, because I think we're playing Croydon in the round of or quarterfinal of our T20 this week, and they're in Division 5 East or something like that. But they've beaten 2 of our Prem sides already this year, so they're obviously probably in the wrong league. But that'd be a good game. But yeah, I think it obviously took a lot of planning to organise all of that and get it sorted. So they've done a good job.
Yeah, I applaud any league who does what they've done in Surrey in terms of bringing it to the foundation, running the whole thing, and it's professionalised the league, hasn't it? So that the people who are running it and all those, instead of volunteer administrators at the top, you've actually got paid people who they're focused on getting that league right week in, week out, guys.
Yeah, definitely. And again, like I said, we've probably not seen too much of it in the Prem because it's been the same as it has been for the last few years. So definitely the 2-3 years time, it will show the amount of work they've done has been worthwhile for everybody else in and around the comp. So yeah, it's been good.
Absolutely. Always got to give credit to leagues where they're doing that. Surrey's running a great system at the moment. They do a great roundup week in, week out on the newsletter, which they allow us to put onto our website as well. So the rest of the country can read about what you guys are doing down in Surrey as well. So thanks for joining us, George. Been really good catching up. Mr. Newsome will be back next week. Mr. Taaffe will be back next week. And fingers crossed, we've just got more and more runs coming for everyone this week because the sun's out, boys. It's absolutely blinding out there, isn't it?
Well, hopefully will stay nice and dry, nice and flat, without too many thunderstorms. That's always the downside, isn't it? When weather gets nice. No, looking good.
Without a shadow. And we've got to say, Mr. Taaffe, we are behind you, mate. You know that. We are behind you. It will come. And when it comes, don't you worry. We will celebrate for you, mate.
You don't need to celebrate for me.
Yeah. On that note, have a good one, boys.
Perfect.
Good.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us at the Premier League Cricket Club. We'll be back soon with more from the world of Premier League and NCCA cricket. But in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review and follow us wherever you get your socials. Or maybe check out our website, premierleaguecricket.co.uk, to stay updated. Until next time, have a good one.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.